Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Toy Ventures. It's a special edition because in celebration of the republishing of my book, Rack Toys, Cheap Crazed Playthings, this September 10th, there'll be a link to buy below. It's by the very good people at Nacelle Publishing. I'm extremely grateful to them for including me in their new publishing company. I'm a huge fan of the toys that made us, and it's just very gratifying after years of work and self-publishing a book to have someone say, this is really great, and we think it deserves another printing. Rack toys have always been a part of my life. They were the family business when I was a kid, and even as an adult, I started selling them as a sideline. Heck, as a kid, and I've told this story before, I actually got locked in a drugstore because I was just too zoned in on the toy section to notice that they were closing. So this is very special to me. There's a real connection here to Rack Toys. So I thought in celebration, I would count down my favorite Rack Toys of all time. They're not in any particular order, although I will end with my absolute favorite. So let's dig in, shall we? Laverne and Shirley Secretary Set by Harmony Toys. This is one of the great examples of just purely absurd toys. It's almost like it has a sense of humor. Laverne and Shirley obviously weren't secretaries. They didn't have calculators in the 50s. And things are just all over the place with this set. There's a tiny bookcase and a giant calculator. To paraphrase from Mystery Science Theater, it's just a toy. You should just really relax. These are just one of those things you're not supposed to put any thought to. But the joy of it is, it's so silly. Space Master 2002 MO. These are a generic space toy that were sold actually by my dad, but they were brought in by Nobility or P.K. Douglas. And I had a bunch of these as a kid, and this card was just ingrained in my memory. I absolutely remember seeing that woman in the space bikini, but I couldn't remember the name of these toys. I would search and search, but it was really hard when you don't remember who made it or what it was called. So I stumbled on this actually at a used bookstore when I was looking for something for my son, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, money didn't leave my wallet fast enough. I don't know what 2002 MO means, but 2002 is actually a very special year for me, so that's kind of awesome. And I have done some research, and these were also sold in the UK by a toy chain called Zodiac, so those are out there as well. Dr. Shrinker Magnifying Set by Harmony. I grew up loving the Croft Super Show, Dr. Shrinker, Electro and Dyna Girl, you name it. Bigfoot and Wild Boy, they were the best shows. And to get merchandise based on Dr. Shrinker is actually quite rare. And to find such logical merchandise, they made two toys that I know of, the magnifying glass and then a pantographing set where you can kind of enlarge the shrinkies. These are both brilliant rack toys that are relevant to the program. And Harmony was a weird company that made odd things that I enjoy, but these actually work. These totally work. And as a fan of Croft, like I said, these are some of the favorite things in my collection. Godzilla by GLJ. This bendable Godzilla, for many children, including myself, was the only Godzilla toy I got as a kid. My parents weren't real big on getting me the Shogun Warriors Godzilla. But this guy was affordable and something I could get. Also, I want to point out that the card for this is just absolutely magnificent. I mean, look at that. It's a little train set and Godzilla's causing all that damage. What kid could resist this package? Very, very few. And I don't want to know them. They grew up to be dull adults. This is absolutely one of my favorite Godzilla toys of all time. Space 1999 Moonbase Alpha Water Gun by Azrak-Hamway. I had one of these as a kid. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's the closest thing to like a prop replica you could get as a kid. It's very accurate to the show, save for the big embossed Space 1999 logo, which I completely forgave as a kid. I had a million hours playing with this. This is one of my favorite sci-fi weapons of all time. And this was just a wonderful toy to have. And I got very good at making that sound, or at least I think I did, to emulate the sound of the stun guns. Wonderful toy. Mr. T Jewelry Set by Imperial Toys. Mr. T Mania was an amazing phenomenon in the early 80s, and I'm sure many of you remember it. And his face got put on some weird stuff. But this is a really logical toy. Somebody at Imperial had a bright idea to take a whole bunch of, costume jewelry and shove it on a card and put Mr. T's face on it. And how appropriate. I mean, that is one of his moves. That was his look. So kudos to whoever worked at Imperial that day and actually decided to make a rack toy that made sense to Mr. T. I'm sure there's lots that don't, but this one is really fun, and I just love the charm of it. Parachuting Mr. Spock by Azrak-Hamway. I can honestly remember my dad stocking these on store shelves as a kid, talking to him, and we were probably going somewhere and he just needed to do a quick service call. And I remember as a kid going, why is Mr. Spock, he has a transporter and a spaceship, why is he parachuting? But of course, I also was thinking, oh, I want one. I really want one. And that's the appeal of the parachuting figures. AHI made a ton of absurd parachute figures, and this is just one of them. But I think it's my single favorite, just because I love Mr. Spock and I love parachuting. I would almost have chosen Dr. Zaius, but Mr. Spock won by just, a pointed ear. Tarzan in the Valley of the Dinosaurs by Fleetwood Toys. As a kid, I think, like a lot of you, I discovered the magic of mixing army men and rubber bugs or dinosaurs and, creating this world. So it was really nice to discover this piece that includes an action figure of Tarzan, which I absolutely adore, and then dinosaurs. It's almost as if someone at Fleetwood was a Burroughs fan, because this makes perfect sense. He could be at the Earth's core, in Pellucidar, or who knows, and I just love and applaud this set. There's another set with jungle animals I used to own, but this one is the one I kept because of the kind of science fiction-y flavor of it. Well done, Fleetwood Toys. Spider-Man, the Exterminator by Laramie. I don't know where to begin with this. First of all, from what I understand in the 70s, Marvel's licensing approval department was Stan Lee's secretary. And I've made this joke a few times, but she seemed to have the same kind of criteria that Nicolas Cage does in picking scripts, which is just approve everything. And you ended up with not one, but several Spider-Man handguns. This is clearly like a Dirty Harry set. And it's just so ludicrous to think of Spider-Man packing this kind of heat, like just blowing away people. This is the true epitome of the sarcastic magic of the rack toy, and one of the reasons that I obsess over it so much. There's just a lot of humor to be found. The Love Boat shaving set. If anyone's ever watched The Love Boat, it has a lot to do with shaving. Never. This is just a typical example of label slap, which is the lifeblood of the rack toy industry. You get a license that people recognize. You find a toy that's already being produced in Hong Kong, and you put them together like peanut butter and chocolate. And if it doesn't make sense, who cares? It costs less than $1. And this is just one of those things. There's a ton of shaving sets out there, but I think this one is probably the most ludicrous one I've seen. It doesn't hurt that I'm a big fan of the Love Boat and always will be. I just wish there was some Fantasy Island rack toys. Before I get to my number one, I just wanted to show a few runners-up that almost made the list because they're awesome. Before I get to number 1, I just want to mention that issue 5 of Toy Ventures, if you pre-order right now, you can get a genuine rack toy, a modern rack toy, in the form of this Mr. Rock Cosmic Space Flyer. It's a real toy. It actually flies. Links to pre-order are below. Thank you for considering Toy Ventures magazine. Cheers. And my number 1 favorite rack toy of all time is the Planet of the Apes helicopter by Azrak-Hamway. Well, I've had some well-meaning people suggest to me that this, is based on the book where they did have technology such as helicopters. Let's be honest, it isn't. What this is somebody at AHI sold a lot of Batcopters and thought, well, let's just put the Planet of the Apes logo on the card and put a little gorilla in there and we'll sell Planet of the Apes helicopters. That's exactly what happened. Nobody was reading Pierre Boulle's Monkey Planet and trying to figure out an angle. This is one of my earliest obsessions was tracking one of these down when I first started toy collecting because I just loved the joke. And to be honest with you, I think this may have inspired me to write rack toys in the first place. It's why it's on the cover, and it's something that I just absolutely treasure, and obviously I'm grateful for because publishing rack toys was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. So those are my picks for favorite rack toys. What are some of yours? I'd love to hear them either in the comments below, or you can hit me up at our Facebook group Plaidstallions, where we have important discussions like this all day. Thanks again for watching. If you are new to this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. This is the kind of content I create every week. And please remember that the second edition of Rack Toys is coming out this September 10th, and there is a link below. Until next time, talk toys, not other people, and be well. Cheers.